Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the fascinating and honestly highly unexpected evolution of the yellow ribbon. Have you ever driven down the street and noticed a small magnetic ribbon on the back of a car? Or maybe you've watched a community tie ribbons around trees to welcome someone home? Well, if you have, you've witnessed a living piece of modern folklore in action. We're going to uncover exactly how this symbol was born and how it dramatically transformed over the decades.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit myth versus factual origins, the pop culture catalyst, the Iran Hostage Crisis, ATO and the Gulf War, and finally, a global symbol of hope. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Myth versus factual origins, where we debunk the Civil War legend.
So where did the yellow ribbon tradition actually come from? I mean, most of us recognize it, right? But if I asked you to pinpoint exactly where it started, you'd probably be way off. You might think it goes back centuries, deeply baked into the founding history of the military. But the reality? It's a lot more convoluted and honestly way more interesting than that.
There is this crazy contrast between the Hollywood version of history and the gritty reality. According to the Library of Congress, the whole idea that this tradition started during the Civil War, yeah, that's literally just an urban legend. It was actually fueled by a John Wayne movie called She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. In reality, the modern use of ribbons as a symbol of hope started out as an oral folktale. And get this, it first appeared in print in 1959 in a book on prison reform. The story goes like this. A newly freed prison inmate is riding a train home. He had written to his family, instructing them to tie a big white ribbon, yes, white, not yellow, on the apple tree next to the railroad tracks if they were willing to welcome him back. As the train rolled up, he was too terrified to look, so his buddy looked out the window and saw the entire tree just covered in white ribbons. It's an absolutely beautiful story of forgiveness. But as we'll see, the colors and the details were about to get a major remix.
All right, Section 2, the pop culture catalyst, and how this simple story became an absolute sensation.
This timeline is a perfect map of the media multiplier effect. Just look at how a story floating around a New York bar went from print journalism to a chart-topping pop song in literally 3 years. In 1971, journalist Pete Hamill writes a piece for the New York Post called Going Home. It's a riff on that prisoner story we just talked about, but he swaps the white ribbon for a yellow handkerchief. 9 months later, Reader's Digest reprints it. Now here is where it gets wild. Songwriters L. Russell Brown and Irwin Levine read it, adapt it, and actually offer it to Ringo Starr first. But Apple Records flat out rejected it. They called the song ridiculous. So the writers tweaked the handkerchief to a yellow ribbon, thought it sounded a bit more romantic, and eventually the group Tony Orlando and Dawn recorded it as Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree.
And that brings us to this staggering number, 1 million. That's how many records Tony Orlando and Dawn sold in just 3 weeks back in 1973. It just proves how the music industry was basically gasoline on the fire for public recognition. I mean, this song dominated the Billboard Hot 100 chart for 4 straight weeks. It firmly glued this narrative of a returning loved one looking for a yellow ribbon right into the global consciousness. It wasn't just a folk tale anymore. It was literally the soundtrack of the early 70s.
Moving on to Section 3, the Iran Hostage Crisis, where this symbol takes on some serious national weight.
This brilliant quote shows how one single human element connected a massive geopolitical crisis to a catchy pop song. In November 1979, 52 Americans were taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They were held for an agonizing 444 days. The man in charge of the embassy was Bruce Lingan. Back in the States, his wife, Penny Lingan, really stepped up as a leader for the hostage families. When a reporter asked her what could Americans do to show support instead of just showing anger, she suggested doing something constructive. And she directly referenced that Tony Orlando song, saying, just tell them to tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
I mean, look at this tactical marketing genius by the hostage families. To keep their loved ones in the public's hearts, they launched a massive grassroots campaign. Step 1, they mailed yellow lapel pins to local TV weathermen everywhere. Think about that. Instant, nightly visibility in living rooms across the entire country. Step 2, Penny Langan herself ties a yellow ribbon on the national Christmas tree. And Step 3, when the hostages were finally released in January 1981, Super Bowl XV was played just 5 days later at the Louisiana Superdome, which was completely decked out with a massive yellow bow. Even the players wore yellow stripes on their helmets.
The whole country was absolutely preoccupied with this. The sheer joy of their safe return sparked some incredible acts of solidarity. Get this, according to a telegram sent to Bruce Langan, 53 employees from a company in Idaho actually skied down Mount Baldy at night. They were holding brightly lit torches to form a literal flaming yellow ribbon winding down the snowy trails. By this point, the fiction of the song had completely merged with American reality.
Okay, Section 4, ATO and the Gulf War.
focusing on physical manifestations of support.
Fast forward a decade to the Gulf War in 1991. Hundreds of Alpha Tau Omega, or ATO, fraternity members were deployed into action. To honor them and show unwavering support, the fraternity built and displayed this absolutely massive 10-foot-tall wooden yellow ribbon right beneath the Greek letters at their national headquarters in Champaign, Illinois. It is such a perfect visual representation of how the symbol became so deeply embedded in community support for deployed military personnel. It fully transitioned from a hostage symbol back to a broader emblem of military homecoming.
Finally, Section 5, a global symbol of hope extending far beyond American borders.
Because the ribbon's power definitely wasn't limited to the U.S. Over in the Philippines in 1983, supporters were gearing up for the return of an exiled politician named Benigno Aquino Jr. They did this by tying yellow ribbons on trees, a direct, purposeful nod to the whole welcoming someone home theme of the song. Tragically, Aquino was assassinated at the airport the moment he arrived. But you know what? Those ribbons stayed up. The yellow ribbon became so ubiquitous that it actually fueled the people power revolution. Talk about the power to mobilize millions globally. It ultimately led to the peaceful overthrow of Ferdinand Marcos's regime. And yellow even evolved into an incredibly successful campaign symbol for Aquino's widow and later their son.
It is just mind-blowing when you step back and look at the whole picture. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. How in the world did a simple, fictional 1950s folktale about a paroled prisoner looking for a white ribbon on an apple tree snowball into a chart-topping pop song, then a massive national movement in America, and finally a real-world emblem that literally helped topple a government in the Philippines? It's wild, right? It really is a testament to our deep, universal human need for symbols of hope, forgiveness, and coming home. So the next time you see a ribbon tied around a tree, you'll know exactly the incredible, twisting history that put it there. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes open for the history hiding in plain sight.